Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make the best trout bait you can possibly get. It's going to be better than power bait. It's not going to be the same as power bait. This is going to sink. It's not going to float off the bottom like power bait is. It just sinks right to the bottom. It's hard to use on the bottom. You can use it with a split shot, but they won't grab it as good. It won't float. So what you got to do is you have to use a real little hook, and you have to use like a size 22 hook. You can use a size 8 and put a big glob of it on. A stock trout's not going to really care, but if you're trying to get a really big trout, a 20-some incher, you're going to need about a size 22 or an 18 if they're just put in. So this is what it's made out of. It's made out of. I just make it out of trout pellets. And that's the size ball you're going to want, about this big. So if you get a 22, size 22 hook, you want to try to make a ball this big. Drop it that big. Size ball that you want. So there's a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need a coffee grinder. A good one, not a cheap one. I got that at Walmart for like $15. You're going to need 2 bowls about that size. You need a bowl like this to put flour in, because you're not going to want to wreck your whole bag of flour. You need flour too. Just flour, trout pellets, and water. And you're just going to need a big glass of water like this. And about 2 spoons for mixing, because you're not going to get your hands all dirty right away. And another bowl like that big. And you're going to need trout pellets. You can find these at certain stores if you go to. You don't want them real big. You want them this big. About that big. You can get the bigger ones and you can grind them up, but to grind them up you're going to want them about this size. So, alright, well I got my flour. I just got some of this, it's just Giant brand stuff. That's all you need. Some regular all-purpose flour. And get a good bowl of it. You're going to need a lot of it, so. For what I'm doing, I might not need that much, but I can always mix it in. So now you got your flour. If you get a coffee grinder, there's going to be what size you want. It's going to be like fine, medium, or coarse. You're just going to put it on fine, and for cups, just put it to the maximum. It really won't matter, but it'll turn off after a while. Fill that up. There's going to be a maximum fill line. I always go above it. You shouldn't, but I do. It might break your coffee grinder, but I never had a problem with it. A generous amount in there. I'm not going to make that much because it's going to go bad. It'll go bad in 2 weeks. This bait doesn't last very long. It's going to be pretty loud, so. And I have the one that just twists off the top. So that's what it's gonna look like. This is really fine flour powder, but it's gonna be like trout pellet powder. Dump all that in your mixing bowl. Then, if you need any more, you can get them then. And just dump them in. And them pellets, just treat them like dog food, same storage and everything as you would if you're keeping dog food. You want to keep it somewhere dry and in a dry place. And this bait's will get moldy if you keep this for a little bit over 2 weeks. It might get moldy. You must refrigerate this. Very important to refrigerate this bait. If you don't refrigerate, it's going to get moldy. And it's going to get real hard. And you want a power bait jar to put it in. Standard power bait jar. That's all you're going to need. And at the end, you're just going to put hot water in this, really hot water, and I'll take the power bait smell out of there. And on the ground up trout pellets, if you use one of these, you're gonna get this like electrical smell, like burnt electric smell. And once you mix everything together, you're getting that trout pellet smell again. So now you have about that much. You're gonna Get your flour, more flour than trout pellets, because this is what holds the bait together, so you can mix it. If you just use this, it's gonna get all soggy and it's not gonna work. You're just gonna add about that much water, and you want it to be about the texture of powerbait or Play-Doh, that kind of really thick, malleable. You want it malleable, not real hard, but you want to be able to mold that on. It's just gonna be a bunch of powder in there, and then you're gonna add more water. Keep mixing this up. I make a whole bunch of this before opening day and all that. I'll have a whole bunch of this made up. That's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna keep mixing it, and you're gonna get that. But once you mix this all up, it's gonna be a smooth look to it. It's gonna have that kind of look right now. It's not finished. And then you just mix it with your hands. I'll show you what I mean then. Once you get it all mixed up in this bowl, the bowl you're using, I just dump it right out onto the table, right like that. And you want to keep your bowl nearby. It's good to have about 2 bowls for whatever reason you need. If you're putting more flour in it, or you're putting a little bit of water in the bottom of a bowl, and now you're just going to start mixing it again. It's alright if you make a little bit extra. You'll be using it a lot. With the size 22 hook, a jar will last you a day and a half, 3 days. Depends how many you're catching with it. And you're going to use it no weight with the size 22 hook if you use it. That's the right way to use it. You can use it on a float too with one split shot, the trout magnet floats. And you're going to want it to be like that far off the bottom or wherever the trout are in the water column. You want it to go right across their face, and that's going to keep it at one distance, and you're just going to float that down the stream, and the trout will come up and grab that. On the float, a big trout, when they hit the float, they hit it real light, and it's hard to see it. You know, you catch more big ones with no weight and let it float down the stream, but then eventually it'll hit the bottom, and it's hard to cast, so you gotta have a real good rod. You gotta have a good St. Croix, a really lightweight one, or a really longer rod. Because it's really hard to cast with no weight with a size 22 hook. And you want the big eye hooks, just dry fly, Orvis size 22s, and that's all I use. 4-pound test. You have to really be careful. You cannot use anything over 4. It's hard to tie it on. I use a polymer knot, so I'm putting the line through the eye 2 times, and it gets hard after a while. But if you're only using knot, when you can only have to pass it through the eye 1 time, you're fine. But 6 is really hard to get through eye of a size 22, and it's hard to see. So, if you have bad eyesight, it's going to be very hard for you to tie a size 22 on. The hook's so small. I caught many a big trout on it too. And you're going to think that they're going to get off very easy with a size 22. But I've had them hooked by a little piece of skin on the top of the mouth, and they haven't gotten off. If you know what you're doing to get a big trout in, you'll have no problem with a size 22. 18's a really good hook too. If you have not as great eyesight, you can use a size 18 to get away with it. But I like my size 22. They're really sharp hooks too. I get them in my hand all the time. They're really sharp. They'll break after you get a big one though. If you get a big one, he's in a tough part of his mouth, you got to get it out with pliers. It'll break right off. And they will swallow it pretty easily. They'll get it swallowed. That's no problem. You get 25 of them in a pack for $5. They're fly hooks, so you have to go to Cabela's won't sell you Orvis, so don't bother going there unless you're not looking for Orvis. Orvis is the best quality. I experimented with them all. The brand Daiichi, I think is how you pronounce it. Their size 18 scud hooks, they're pretty good. They're a good powerbait hook if you're using small ball powerbait. That's what you want. Them then, they work pretty good. Mustads, they'll bend really easy. The mustad hooks, so you don't bother with them. Lightning Strike, they're pretty good if you can find them. if you're in a pond, you can catch them with this too. And right here, I'll show you what I mean. Get my size 22s out. Just use them, real little hooks. And then a trout magnet float or steelhead float. They work really well too. This will let you cast a lot further. These don't cast that far. You can just use like 1 or 2 split shots with them. 1 split shot's the best. And I use one of these bags, a little fanny pack, because I like to move around a lot. If it feels like it's getting too hard after a while, you're going to want to just use a little bit of water. Put a little on your hand or whatever, and then wet it again. And put a little bit more flour in with it. And just keep mixing it. This works better in powerbait. Trust me, if you make this, use it no weight, and you want good pair of glasses because you're going to want to see the trout, and you're going to see if they're going up to it and moving away from it. And you're just going to fish it like that. You excite fish with it. You can leave it on the bottom with a split shot. It just doesn't work as good. This does not float. When this hits the bottom, it stays on the bottom, and they'll have to go down to the bottom and pick it up. They really don't like that. I caught a whole lot on this. And Saturday, I'm planning on putting another video up too, so you'll get that video. I know I haven't uploaded it in a long time. I've been pretty busy lately, and there's been nothing to film. You go to the fly aisle and buy 18s or 22s. It's the only hooks I'll tell you to use. Unless you're fishing, like if there's a really big trout in front of you and they just put them in, like if it's a competition or whatever you're fishing, and they have a certain time, like 8 o'clock or something, you have to fish or opening day, and there's a really big one out there, like a big trout, you want to catch them, and you're afraid you're going to lose them with the little hook, go tie on an 8, a 10, or a 12, or a big hook like that, and you're just going to put a big ball on it, and you're going to throw it out, and what you're going to do is, if you're using an 8 or something, you might end up like a ball like this big, huge ball like that. So you're just going to break a couple of these out of your bait, and you can use the extras and take that with you in like a little Ziploc bag, or you have another jar, and you're just going to throw them out in front of him. It seems like a waste of bait, but it won't be. And you throw it right in front of him, let it sink, and if he comes up and grabs it, and you're just going to keep doing that a couple more times, give him like 3 more, so you got him interested in the bait a while. And then you're going to throw out there with your size 8 with the big glob on. He's going to come up and grab it, and then just let him swallow it. And you got him right away. With the size 22, you might lose a couple. I mean, you might not get the best hook set sometimes, but most of the time you're going to get them. So if you follow this recipe and you make this bait, you're going to catch a trout. So what I'm doing, I'm just mixing it. Just mixing it around. It's getting thick, and I'm mixing it around with the flour. And you're ending up with this. See, you can see it's just like powerbait. Same consistency. If you catch any of this on it, let me know. Send a comment. Say you caught some on my bait. If you watch my video. I'd like to know if anyone's using it. Or anyone likes it. Because it's going to be better than powerbait, let me tell you. It's not even the same as power. I shouldn't even be comparing it to powerbait. It pretty much isn't. It doesn't float, so it's not the same thing. And it's going to have that trout pellet smell now. That electrical smell, that goes away when you mix it with the flour. And mix it up. Okay, so yeah, it's just like powerbait almost. Like the consistency, you're going to want a powerbait consistency of how thick it should be. And every once in a while break it out in the middle, make 2 balls in, and then do that. And then I'll do an example here of that much. That size. And I'm not going to tell you to go throw trout pellets in and fish on top of them, because I don't know where you are, if you're allowed to do that. People don't like it when you do that. But if there's a big one out there that's not biting or not interested and you throw some in front of him, I can almost guarantee he's going to come up and start eating some of them, or you're going to get them all in a big frenzy. But I'm not responsible if you decide to do that and get in trouble for it. And then there's two types of trout pellets. There's floating and slow sinking. In a creek, you want slow sinking because they're going to sink to the bottom. And in a pond, you want floating. They'll sit on top and they'll come up and they'll grab them off the top. And if you're fishing this way, then you're going to use brown power bait on a size real little ball of it, and you're going to throw it right in the middle of the pellets when it's floating on top of the water. And it's going to float on top of the water, and one's going to come up and grab it. And you have to, so like fishing a dry fly, you're going to have to watch and see when they come up and grab that. And you'll get them that way too. You'll really get them like that in a pond. They'll all come right there. They'll hear it hit the water. It's another thing. They'll hear it hit the water, and that's what brings them in. It'll get them all active. Or you could just throw a couple balls of bait in or whatever you're going to do. Sight fishing is the best way to fish this. And this is for stock trout. I'm in a big stock trout area, so I'm a member of a trout club. So my bait's done. So it just takes about that long until you get the right consistency. So you're gonna have a lot of this extra on the ground on your table here, and then just mix it right in. Grab it all up and mix it right in with it. The extra in the bowl you got where you mix the water, mix it right in. And make sure you're using trout pellets. Dog food doesn't work. Stuff like that won't work. You're just going to use trout pellets. I never mixed anything in with this, like a scent or anything. You're not going to mix scent in with this. It won't work. But you can use this for ideas for other bait. I have not explored that much. I just use this because it's the final bait. This is the most improved version of this you're ever going to get. You can put sparkles in this. I used to do that. Sparkles in the lip rippers dust, hatchery dust. I used to mix it in with this too. I put a whole bunch of sprinkles in here. I used to catch them like that. That was the first thing I started doing. And that really worked. But this is way more natural looking to them. You're ending up with this. And I'm going to show you what to do with the jar and how to put it in there and keep moisture out. I'll show you that too. That's another trick I learned over the years. Usually when you open it up, there's going to be water on the top. It's going to make it all mushy on the top, and you have to scoop it out. And it might happen to you. If you make the bait a little bit too dry, you're going to end up with it's going to be real mushy in the jar. Unscrew the lid and let it sit in the sun until it gets hard again, and then you can use it like that. That's a good way to get the bait back like that again. I'm just going to add all my flour, and I don't want to waste the flour. But if you keep adding flour, it's going to get really hard, and then it won't get real mushy like that. It takes a while. It'll take a little bit to get used to what you're doing. And once you start making this, you'll get good at it. And you just mix all the flour in. All that flour on the outside, if you just throw this in a jar right now, it'll work fine. It'd hit the water and it'll just disappear and turn brown. That's all you gotta do. Fishing on a float in the bottom or weightless. Weightless is deadly. You'll really get them weightless. And if you can't see where you're fishing, if you can't see it floating down the stream and sinking, then you're just going to want to throw it out and let it sink real slow and watch your line. When your line stretches up or goes a different way, then reel it up real slow and lift up. You'll feel them tapping on it and then get them. That's all you have to do. And you're going to get a whole bunch of little ones love this too. And that's it. They're a nuisance with it. It's fun though. If you're shallow or water or whatever and you see them come up and you see one suck it in real quick, that's really fun. Caught many big trout on this. I caught a 21-inch brown trout on this too. Brown trout they'll hit this. Usually you don't get a lot of brown trout on power bait, but they hit this. This is what they do hit, because they're used to eating this in the hatchery. Tastes the same, smells the same. And you might think, well, you're getting your scent on it when you're mixing it up, but you really don't. Doesn't make a difference. So now you got your jar. So I'm gonna show you what to do with this. All right. So once you got your, you can just put some really hot water in here. And just go ahead and sit for a little bit, and it'll cook whatever junk's in the bottom here. I put bait in this before, so and I'm just gonna dump the water in here. Just gonna clean it out with a paper towel. If you're using a jar that just had power bait in it, you just let it sit for a little bit when you're making the bait. Do it first. Then you'll come back and some of the power bait will be floating on the top, and then you just scoop the rest out with a paper towel like that. Now you're gonna have a clean jar. Now this is a tricky part, is putting the bait in the jar, because you're gonna get this weird air gap in the bottom where it's not gonna want to go in. That can happen here. Make it like that shape. Put it in the bottom. Push your thumb down through it, and on top, and you're gonna get that air gap in the bottom. You're just gonna keep pushing that in there, and you'll get it. And that's how much is in the power bait jar. That little bit off of there, how much you're getting in the power bait jar. The rest you can put in more jars. Ziploc bag, it all stays about the same. Ziploc bag, it's not going to stay as long then. Just going to fill all of that up. And here's the secret of how to keep the air and moisture out. Take a little bit of your flour off your table. Just sprinkle a little bit of that on top. Right like that. Put your lid on, you're good to go. That's how you make the best trout bait you can ever get your hands on. Guarantee you, if you use this bait, you're going to catch a trout. And you're going to catch them on this. Once you start using this in small hooks, your trout fishing experience is never going to be what it used to be. Trust me.